Hello, in this video we'll look at a few of the Sententiae from chapter 6. Let's just start with the first one. Dionysius tum erat tyrannus Syracusanorum. I use this one first because students always get this almost right, but technically wrong. So let's start with a verb. Erat. Is this a form of errare, to wander, or is it the past tense of est, namely sum esse? Well, it's the past tense of est because we only have one R here. So, was. So this is pretty straightforward. Dionysius was, I'll just write D for Dionysius. Dionysius then was, well, what was he? Well, he was the tyrant. But now, what students always want to do, they always want us to turn this into an adjective. Like say, oh, he was the Syracusan tyrant. Or he was the tyrant of Syracuse. But that's not what it says. That's not what this form is. Tyrant of Syracuse is better than the first one. But what it really is plural masculine. Tyrant of the Syracusans. Now, obviously, Cicero wasn't talking about upstate New York here. So, where is Syracuse? Well, it's a Greek city-state in Sicily. Sicily has been a disputed territory throughout history because it's strategically important for the Mediterranean. World War II, right after North Africa was taken by the Allies, first place to go was Sicily. During the Peloponnesian War between Sparta and Athens, the Athenians also invaded Sicily to get at Syracuse, which at the time was an ally of Sparta. And this Dionysius mentioned here was also an ally of the Spartans, who at this point was trying to drive the Carthaginians out of Sicily. Let's not spend too much time on it here, but Sicily has a rich, and let's call it just multicultural history as a Greek, Latin or Roman, island, Arab, Norman, then also associated with the Holy Roman Empire, and now it's a part of the nation-state of Italy. Oh, and of course also Byzantium in there too, which is, I guess you could say, Greek or Roman, well, Byzantine. So anyway, Dionysius then was tyrant of the Syracusans. Okay, let's go to number 3. There are a couple of interesting things here about this sentence. But hey, where's the verb? Do you recognize it? Here it is, with that enclitic ne. So, we know that this is going to be a question. Well, we knew that because Wheelock gives us a question mark. But now I think I've seen in manuscripts something that looks kind of like a semicolon used as a question mark. But all such markings in manuscripts are inconsistent. And I don't think this was an exception. So just to remind you, these punctuation marks, and not to mention capitalization, it's all provided according to English usage by Wheelock. It's not in real Latin. So anyway, on to the sentence. We have this enclitic here. What person and tense is the verb? Do we have an explicit or an implicit subject? Well, it's possemus. So we don't see a nos in here, so it's implicit, but it's nos. Nos possemus. We are able. But since this is a question, actually, we should just start off this way. Are we able? Whoops, forgot my L there. Are we able? And it seems to me irrelevant to the spirit of the original, whether we negate the verb here or not. So if you want to write, are we unable, that's okay too. Because the main point here is that this ne indicates a question that we don't know the answer to. Now one thing we know we'll probably need when we have a verb like, say, debeo debere, or in this case, possum posse, is a complementary infinitive. We need to find something in the infinitive. Can you find it? Well, here it is, esse. So, are we able to be? Now we have 3 basic chunks of the sentence left to deal with. Od, and then in modus insidiis et magno exitio, and then savi. Od isn't too hard because we have the O here kind of telling us what to do with it, staring us in the face, saying, I'm vocative. It's not nominative, of course, because there's no verb that does anything with this, right? It's just odi, vocative. Are we able to be, O gods? Now we have to wonder, are we able to be what? So let's skip down to salvi. This is an adjective in the chapter 6 vocabulary. If you don't recall what it means, go look on page 39. You're back? Well, it's salvus, salva, salvum, which means safe, but it's either plural nominative or genitive singular in the masculine or possibly the neuter, but not if it's nominative plural. And there's no apparent noun for it to agree with, is there? So is this a substantive adjective? Something like safe people? Well, that wouldn't make much sense. This has to agree with a noun, but what noun could it agree with? We'd need something nominative. Okay, so I think I know, right? Well, duh, I'm the teacher. But what about this nos here that we had to supply for posemus? That's a plural nominative noun, or I should say pronoun, and it's even masculine because any group of people that includes at least one man will be masculine. And it's Cicero talking, so that's at least one man. But why are they both nominative? Nos and salvi. It's because they're connected by esse. Again, just like when you say, in the past we had vita humana est supplicium. Human life is suffering. Everything here is in the nominative. Remember that one, by the way? That's a great one. Very sunny. So even if esse is the complementary infinitive, as it is here, it's still connecting the noun with the adjective, or in this case, the implied pronoun. So that solves our problem. Are we able to be, O gods, safe? And now the prepositional objects. In. Again, in is the easiest Latin preposition. Do you remember what case comes after in Latin? Well, it's always ablative. So these are clearly ablative plural here, males insidiis. Are we able to be safe in evil treacheries, and then et magno exitio, and great. And do you remember what exitium is? Well, it's destruction. So are we able to be, O gods, safe in evil treacheries and great destruction? Well, I'm not one of the immortal gods, but it seems unlikely to me. So how about number 5? Propter vitia tua multi te culpant, et nihil te in patria tua delectare nunc potest. We have 3 verbs here. Culpant, delectare, potest. The infinitive here will probably go with potest, right? Because potest always needs, maybe not always, but often needs a complementary infinitive. And if we have 2 conjugated verbs, we probably have to divide this sentence up into 2. Et offers a pretty good place to do that. Well, at least a likely place. So let's start by just looking at everything before this et. And the verb before et is still culpant. So what kind of subject are we looking for with this kind of ending? Well, we're looking for a they subject, right? Is there anything before et that would work? Well, what about vitia tua? That might work just looking at the form. Could be feminine singular if we don't really know what the gender is. In that case, it wouldn't work. But it could also be neuter plural, and if it's neuter plural, it could be nominative, the subject, but it could also be accusative. Is there any way to know which? Well, vitia tua comes right after propter, and as a preposition, propter always takes the accusative. So this is very likely to be going with propter and being the accusative. In fact, we might as well just translate it right now. On account of tua vitia, your crimes, or your vices, or whatever. Is there anything else? We still don't have our subject, though. So is there anything else that could be a nominative plural subject? Well, yeah, there is. Here's multi. That could be genitive singular or nominative plural. I don't see how genitive singular could work here. But if we say this is a masculine plural substantive adjective, i.e. many men, then that starts to look pretty good. On account of your crimes, many men blame you. This is making a lot of sense. Et, and, now the second part of the sentence. And now our main verb is potest here. What kind of subject will we look for? Well, this is singular now, right? So he, she, or it. Does anything fit that bill? Patria tua looks like it could. But just like vitia tua, it comes right after a preposition, in. So that's probably ablative. In fact, Wheelock gives us the macron here. So we know it's ablative, but, again, I don't usually do that. Anyway, what else could be the subject if not patria tua? Well, how about nihil, nothing? And nothing, let's see if this works. Nothing, let's go straight to potest, is able to delight you in patria tua, in your fatherland, or just your country. Looking good. Let's just go ahead and skip down to number 10. I think 6, 7, 8, and 9 you'll knock out of the park. First thing to note here is the Ubi-ibi construction. That divides the sentence into two. So we'll have two conjugated verbs probably. Can you identify them? Well, here's the first one, valent, and then we have the second one, potest, with its complementary infinitive, valere. So with those points in mind, let's get to it. So valent. What kind of subject are we looking for here? Well, it's nt, so that's a they subject. And here we have it, it's glossed, leges. Lex is third declension, by the way, which we haven't learned yet. Lex legis, law, of the law. And then plural nominative, leges. So, where laws are strong, comma, ibi, there. Well, what happens there, by the way? Now our conjugated verb is potest. So we're looking for a he, she, or it subject. Do we have that? Well, sometimes I find that students want to make even a word like family plural, even though even in English it's singular. So don't go and try and make populace plural, right? The people. Well, there are a lot of people in a people, but it's still a singular collective, a people. It's singular and it's masculine. Obviously, there's nothing else than an us ending that indicates masculine. So this is looking good, but what's this? Remember, there are two words that this could be based on what I'm giving you here. It could be libra, which is book, or it could be libra with a macron over the I, which means free. Well, if you look at Wheelock's, you'll see it's the second one here, free. So where laws are strong, there, a free people. And after this, it's a piece of cake. Is able to be strong. Okay, well, that's that. See you in the next chapter.